two continents, Europe and Asia. As Jared smoked, his eyes scanned the faces in the cafe, mostly tourists and middle-aged men. Then he checked his cell phone and bit his nails. Frowning at the bitter taste of the black tea, he announced, "War is fucking hell, Crocker. Make no mistake about that." "I don't." Crocker shook his head and smoothed his salt and pepper mustache. Last night, after a dinner of grilled sardines and zeytinyali dolma, grape leaves stuffed with rice, Jared had shown him photos he had taken in Aleppo. Blocks upon blocks of middle-class apartments, schools, and stores reduced to rubble, burnt-out cars and buses, refuse piled in the broken streets. Crocker had followed news of the Syrian civil war like other Americans, mostly on CNN. But what seemed distant and abstract to most people was more real to him. He had the experience to fill in the smells of death, the feelings of hopelessness and dislocation. He'd seen firsthand other societies coming apart at the seams in places like Bosnia, Somalia, and Iraq. What war did to the psyches of children, he could only imagine. "First time I went in was the summer of 2012. Jared said with a bitter edge in his voice. "Since then, I've watched civilian deaths go from 5 to over 100,000, and the number of refugees rocket into the millions. It's appalling." What he liked about Jared was that the kid had balls. He also had a conscience. You saw a wrong or a problem, and you tried to do what you could to help solve it. He also understood that being in a war zone added a special incandescence to life that you couldn't find anywhere else. The trick was to get close enough to feel the sparkle, but not come back brain dead or worse. "It haunts me constantly," Jared continued. "We could have done something to stop it back in 2012, but we sat on our hands for political reasons." "Sad," said Crocker. He'd heard about the various UN diplomatic efforts to put pressure on the Assad regime to either step down or reach some kind of settlement. None of them had been successful. Didn't people in the administration know that a strong man like Assad had to be backed into a corner and have a gun pointed at his head before he conceded? Sometimes Crocker wondered whether the people who made foreign policy were so removed from on-the-ground experience that they didn't understand the nuts and bolts of human psychology, especially of people in power. "The truth is that nobody really cares about what happens there," Jared continued, "because there's no possible upside financially." "You mean Syria has no oil like Libya and Iraq?" Jared leaned on the little table and nodded. "Yeah." Crocker didn't feel qualified to judge. "Don't you feel sometimes that we're really mercenaries hired to protect the interests of Wall Street and the corporations?" Jared continued. "Like they're the ones really calling the shots?" "Maybe. And they don't give a shit about the plight of people in a place like Syria, normal families?" "Could be," Crocker answered. "But I can't think like that and do my job." It was the main reason he avoided politics, which was a messy, cynical business as far as he was concerned, and rarely resulted in good solutions to real problems. He remained, in the end, a practical-minded man who focused on the specific missions he had to perform. Maybe, as his wife claimed, it resulted in his not seeing the bigger picture. "Hey, you want a real drink?" Jared asked, leaning forward on the cushioned seat. "I could use a scotch." "You're not going to get one here," Crocker responded, pointing to the sign in English, French, and Arabic on the wall behind them. "Our apologies. No alcohol served because of the proximity of the mosque." "Maybe we can order a nargila and ask the waiter to mix in some hashish," he said with a mischievous grin. Crocker laughed. "I thought you guys weren't allowed to smoke that stuff," he responded, reaching for the Turkish coffee, which was sweet and thick on his tongue. "You're right. Yeah, I'd have to bribe the polygraph dude. Ha ha, won't be the first time." Jared was referring to the agency practice of